I worked for a well-known company in New York. I was quiet and professional. I didn't argue with anyone until I smiled at the wrong person in the wrong place. I was fired for that. But what was even more surprising was that my next employer knew about it before I had a chance to tell them. They didn't fire me because I was late or lazy or failed to do my job. They fired me because I smiled at the wrong person at the wrong party. And in a company like Camden and Price, that was enough. It was a Friday morning, the kind where nothing feels off until it does. I just wrapped up a report I'd pulled an all-nighter to finish when the email came through. Bland subject line, "Drop by HR before lunch." I didn't panic. I'd only been there 8 months, but I was hitting deadlines, avoiding office drama, and showing up early even when no one asked. When I walked into HR, Miss Thorne barely looked at me. She just gestured to the seat across from her desk. My manager, Dennis Clark, stood behind her, arms folded like he was guarding a door. She started with that corporate voice, soft, polite, detached. "We've been evaluating departmental alignment." Dennis raised concerns about long-term cohesion. It sounded like nothing and everything. "What kind of concerns?" I asked. Dennis didn't flinch. "This is a fast-paced culture, Ryan. We need people who blend in. I've done everything asked of me." "This isn't just about tasks," he replied. "It's about how your presence makes others feel." Then it clicked. This wasn't about performance. This was about the look I gave Liam from accounting at the holiday party. The smile, the conversation, the 2 beers we shared while the rest of the room pretended we didn't exist. After that night, Dennis stopped calling me by name. The jokes around my desk got weirder. Eye contact vanished. Miss Thorne slid a paper toward me. "Mutual separation." I signed it with a hand that wouldn't stop shaking. No one walked me out, but I could feel them watching as I packed a box of pens and notepads like it mattered. I left behind the coffee mug I bought on my first day. It felt stupid to take it. The apartment felt colder than usual that night. I sat with the box on the kitchen table like I needed proof it really happened. I didn't call anyone. I didn't know how to explain it without sounding paranoid or weak. I just sat there staring at a screen full of job listings that all said the same thing: team-oriented, culture-driven, fast-moving environment. Every line sounded like code for "not you." By Tuesday, I had told myself maybe it wasn't about what they didn't say. Maybe I really didn't fit. Maybe I was just forgettable, replaceable. Maybe it was my fault. That lie held together until Thursday afternoon, when my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost ignored it. "Ryan Cole?" a deep voice asked, calm but firm. "Yes?" "This is Logan Carver. My associate mentioned you in a meeting. Said you're sharp, quiet but effective. Are you still on the market?" I sat up. Sorry, I haven't applied anywhere recently." "Doesn't matter. I trust instincts more than resumes." "And what exactly are you looking for?" "Strategy, discretion, stability? You check all 3. I didn't understand what was happening. I'd never met this man. "What company is this for?" "Carver and West," he said. My throat tightened. That name had power. They were rivals to the firm that just dropped me like dead weight. "Can you meet tomorrow morning? 8th floor, corner office. Ask for me personally." Yeah, I can." "Good, and Ryan, don't try to be anyone else. Just show up as you." The call ended before I could ask another question. That night, I pulled out the only decent blazer I hadn't already folded into storage. I didn't sleep much. My mind kept circling back to his voice. Calm, precise, like he already knew more about me than I did. I arrived 20 minutes early. The receptionist smiled, pressed a button and said, "Mr. Carver is expecting you." I took the elevator up, trying not to sweat through my shirt. He stood by the window when I entered, hands in his pockets, suit perfect without effort. When he turned, I forgot how to breathe. He wasn't just composed, he was calculating. "You're punctual," he said. "I try to be." "Please sit." We didn't shake hands. "I know what happened at Camden," he said bluntly. "I know why they cut you." "I don't agree." My throat went dry. Then, "Why am I here?" He sat across from me, eyes locked. "Because people like Dennis Clark build companies full of mirrors. They want reflections, not individuals. I don't. I want substance." I didn't know what to say. He leaned forward. I need someone I can trust, not just with numbers, with presence, with silence when needed. Loyalty, Ryan. Is that something you understand? I nodded slowly. I do. He smiled, faint but real. You'll start next week. The contract will be sent today. My driver will take you to the office daily. I work late. Expect to stay late. No questions, no interview, just an order disguised as an offer. Why me? I asked. He tilted his head. Because you were fired for being visible. I want you because of it. I left that office with a signed contract and 100 questions. I didn't know what kind of job I just accepted. I didn't know what Logan Carver really wanted, but something in the way he looked at me told me this wasn't about strategy. Not entirely, and I wasn't sure if that scared me or thrilled me. The car showed up at 6:45 sharp, a black sedan, windows tinted, driver silent. He didn't ask for my name, just opened the door and said, Mr. Carver's instructions were to take you straight to the residence. Not the office, his residence. I told myself it was a practical thing. Maybe he worked from home. Maybe this was just how people in his world operated. Blurred lines, flexible hours. Still, my stomach twisted as we drove through the city like I was being smuggled into someone's private life. His place was on the top floor of a building I'd only ever passed by. No lobby, no doorman, just an elevator that opened directly into his home. He met me at the door in shirt sleeves. No tie, no suit jacket. Something about that threw me off more than if he'd been in full armor. You're early, he said, though I wasn't. Your driver was on time. He smiled slightly. He usually is. He showed me the guest room, told me I'd be staying here for convenience. Your role will shift depending on my schedule, he added. Some days we'll work out of the downtown office. Other days I'll need you here. Discreet, present, adaptable. I didn't argue. I needed the job. The first few days were structured enough to feel normal. I handled reports, responded to emails, coordinated schedules. He barely spoke during work hours, just nodded or gave short directives. But at night, everything changed. He'd close his laptop, pour 2 glasses of wine without asking, and motion for me to sit with him near the window. No small talk, just long silences, quiet music, and the occasional question that felt like it meant something deeper than what it asked. Do you miss it? He said once. What? The version of yourself you were before they tried to erase you. I didn't answer. I didn't know how. Sometimes I caught him watching me when I wasn't saying anything. Not with curiosity, but with something closer to recognition. Like he saw something he remembered, maybe in himself. Still, there was a line. Always a line. He never touched me, never crossed it. But he also never explained what we were doing. One night I asked, Is this still just work? He didn't look up. Do you want it to be? I waited. I just want to know what's expected. He closed the file in front of him. I expect discretion, loyalty, presence. If you're not comfortable here, say so. That's not what I meant. Then ask what you really want to ask. I opened my mouth, but the words didn't come. Not because I didn't have them, but because I was afraid of the answer. Instead, I said, Why me? He leaned back, studied me like a puzzle he already knew how to solve. You stayed standing when they tried to reduce you? That's rare. You mean when they fired me? No, he said calmly. I mean when they tried to make you smaller than you are, and you refused to shrink. That answer should have flattered me. Instead, it made me feel exposed. Another week passed. Our routine settled into a rhythm that didn't feel like a routine at all. We worked, ate, talked, slept, in different rooms. But the air between us kept shifting. Something unspoken kept tightening. I started noticing things, like how he never answered personal calls in front of me, or how he avoided questions about his past unless he was the one asking them. And then, there were the moments that confused me more than they should have, like when he brushed past me in the hallway and his hand lingered just long enough for me to notice, or when he said, I trust you, without ever giving me a reason to believe it. One night we returned from a business dinner with 2 partners from Chicago. I'd stayed quiet, played the part, polite, polished, efficient. On the way up in the elevator, he said, They were impressed by you. I shrugged. They barely looked at me. He glanced sideways. That's the point. When we got inside, he didn't offer wine. He just stood by the window, staring at the city like it owed him something. You know what power really is? He asked. Control? I offered. He shook his head. Distance. I waited for him to explain, but he didn't. He just turned back toward me and said, You confused me, Ryan. I didn't move. Why? Because you don't want anything from me. Should I? Most people do. I stepped closer. Not too close, but enough to make it clear I wasn't backing away. What do you want from me? I asked. He didn't answer. Instead, he looked at me like he was deciding something. Then he said, Tomorrow, don't come to the office. Stay here. There's something I need you to organize. Privately. I nodded, unsure if I should feel trusted or trapped. He walked past me without another word, disappearing down the hall. That night I couldn't sleep. Not because I was afraid, but because I was starting to realize something I didn't want to admit. This wasn't about a job anymore, and I wasn't sure if that meant I was in control or already too far gone. The day started like any other. Coffee waiting, laptop open, silence filling the space between us. But Logan's tone had changed, shorter, colder. Something was happening behind his eyes, and I didn't know what. He left early for a meeting downtown, told me to stay available. Hours passed, no messages. The air in the penthouse felt wrong. Too quiet, like it was holding its breath. By noon, curiosity won. I checked the schedule he'd left on the desk. Nothing about today's meeting, just a handwritten note. Keep your phone on. At 2, the doorbell rang. A man in a suit handed me an envelope. For Mr. Carver, he said. I almost told him Logan wasn't home, but the logo in the corner caught my eye. Camden and Price, the company that had fired me. My chest went cold. I shouldn't have opened it, but I did. Inside were printed emails. Mine. Old internal reports, strategy drafts, the kind I thought were long deleted. At the top, delivered via Ryan Cole, C&P Internal Comms. Delivered. I never sent anything. My hands trembled. I read again, slower this time. Every document was marked with my name, like I'd been leaking information, like I was the one who betrayed them. I heard the door open. Logan's footsteps were unhurried, confident. He saw the papers in my hands and stopped. You weren't supposed to see that yet. Yet? My voice cracked. You used me. He didn't deny it, just exhaled softly, as if I'd finally caught up to something inevitable. You wanted a second chance, he said. I gave you one, but everything comes with a cost. I stared at him. You knew why they fired me, and you used that. I used an opportunity, he corrected. They humiliated you. I turned that into leverage. That's business. That's not business, I said. That's exploitation. He looked almost bored. Don't act naive. You knew this wasn't a charity. You didn't ask what the job really was because you didn't want to know. He wasn't wrong. I'd chosen silence. I'd chosen comfort over clarity. Still, I stepped closer. So I was never hired for my work? Just to be a spy? He shook his head. Not a spy, a weapon, one they never saw coming. The words hit harder than I expected. You made me the same as them, I said quietly. I made you survive, he snapped. You were a casualty until I found you. Now you're part of something bigger. I wanted to yell, but the room felt smaller with every breath. You talk like this is power, I said, but you're just afraid of losing control. He froze. For the first time since I'd met him, he didn't have an answer. The silence stretched, sharp as glass. Finally, he said, You don't understand what you're part of. Then explain it, I demanded. I can't. Not yet. I turned away. Then we're done. He moved before I could reach the door, blocking the exit. Ryan, don't, I said. If you ever respected me, don't. He didn't touch me. He just looked. And I could see it then. Not anger, not guilt, but something close to regret. You think walking away fixes it? He said quietly. They already see you as the traitor. Camden will bury you before you can defend yourself. I can protect you, but only if you stay. I hesitated. For a second, I almost believed him. Almost. Then I looked down at the papers again. My name under every line. Proof of every lie. I'd rather start over as no one, I said, than stay as your mistake. I grabbed my bag and walked past him. He didn't stop me this time. When the elevator doors closed, my chest finally unclenched. I didn't cry, didn't think, just moved. The city outside felt different, heavier, louder, but real again. My phone buzzed before I reached the street, a message from him. You'll regret walking away. The truth isn't finished yet. I deleted it. For days I disappeared, rented a small room under a fake name, shut everything off. I thought silence would give me peace, but instead it gave me time to think. Too much time. I realized what scared me most wasn't that Logan had lied. It was that part of me understood why he did it. He believed in power through control. I'd spent my whole life trying to earn survival through obedience. Maybe we weren't so different. That was the worst part. Late one night, I found another envelope slipped under the door. No return address, just one sheet of paper. A single sentence in Logan's handwriting. You think you're free, but they still own your name. I folded it once, set it on the table, and stared at it until morning. For the first time since this started, I wasn't sure who the real enemy was. Him, them, or me. I didn't hear from him for 3 weeks. No calls, no emails, no cryptic messages slid under doors. And for a while I thought that silence was the apology, the closure, the consequence. I found a temp gig, contract work, basic admin stuff. No luxury cars, no late-night strategy sessions, no second glasses of wine waiting by the window. Just a desk, a password, and a clear line between work and everything else. I told myself I was better for it, but some nights I caught myself scrolling through news about his firm. Nothing scandalous, just mergers, market shifts, press statements that sounded like him, calm, calculated, impossible to read. I thought I was over it. I wasn't. Then one evening, there was a knock at my door. I didn't check the peephole. I knew. I opened it, and there he was. No driver, no phone in hand, no script in his eyes. Just Logan. Standing like he hadn't rehearsed this. And for once, I believed he hadn't. Ryan, he said, voice rougher than I remembered. Can I talk to you? I didn't move. You already said enough. I didn't say anything that mattered. He held out a small box. I'm not here to explain the past. I'm here because it's the first time I don't want to control what happens next. I didn't take it. What is it? He placed it on the table inside the door. A few things you left, and one you didn't. I let him in, not out of forgiveness, out of curiosity. He didn't sit, didn't make himself comfortable, just stood there, as if afraid even to breathe too loud. I terminated the Camden deal, he said quietly, walked away from everything we built with that intel. Why? Because it wasn't mine to use. You weren't mine to use. It hit harder than I expected, not because of what he said, but how. No defense, no spin, just the truth. And for a man like him, that felt bigger than any apology. I thought I could manage you the way I manage risk, he continued. Keep you close, useful, predictable. But you weren't any of those things. I crossed my arms. You think that's a compliment? No, I think it's the reason I ruined the one thing that felt real in years. I didn't speak. He looked down, voice lower. When you left, I didn't care about the fallout. I cared that I didn't know how to miss someone the right way. I only knew how to replace them. Did you? I asked. Replace me? He looked up finally. I tried. With distraction, with control, with silence. None of it worked. The room went quiet. I didn't just betray you, he said. I betrayed the version of me that could have chosen honesty, and the version of you that trusted I would. The air shifted. No manipulation, no pressure, just exhaustion. His, mine, both. He stepped closer but didn't reach for me. I'm not asking to fix anything, he said. I don't deserve to. I just needed you to know. I see it now. What I did. What it cost. I nodded slowly. And now? He hesitated. Now I'm building something new, clean, transparent, without shortcuts, and I want you to be part of it. I laughed under my breath. You still think I'd work for you after that? No, he said. I don't want you to work for me. I want you to work with me. The difference in those two words hit like a shift in gravity. I'm not promising anything, I said. You don't have to, he replied. I'm done making promises I don't understand how to keep. He turned to leave, reached for the door, then paused. One more thing, he said. The only thing I ask, if you ever speak to me again, don't call me sir. Not ever again. Then he walked out. I didn't stop him, but I didn't close the door right away either. I stared at the box he left behind, opened it slowly. Inside was the silver pen I used during our first month together. Clean, engraved now. To Ryan, for making me earn the truth. I sat down. My chest ached in ways I didn't expect. Not because I forgave him, because for the first time, I didn't need to hate him to be free of him. That night I didn't sleep. I thought about all the things I could still become if I stopped living in response to someone else's damage. And for the first time in a long time, I realized I wasn't broken. Just done pretending I didn't matter. 6 months later, we shared a nameplate on a glass door. Carver and Cole, Strategic Advisory. Not as boss and assistant, not as savior and saved, as partners. The decision wasn't instant. It took weeks of late conversations, long silences, and sharp boundaries. I didn't move in. I didn't sleep over. We didn't rewind anything. We rewrote it. We drafted new rules before we touched a single contract. No secrets. No blurred roles. No loyalty without transparency. He agreed to all of it. We started small, 2 clients, shared responsibilities. My department handled internal operations and team management. His focused on outreach and negotiations. We worked separately, met in the middle only when necessary, and slowly it worked. The tension didn't disappear. It matured. Sometimes we argued about clients, deadlines, tone, but we argued as equals now. Every Friday we ended work by 6. No exceptions. Sometimes we'd share takeout in silence. Other times we'd walk home together without speaking at all. And the quiet didn't scare me anymore. It wasn't forgiveness that rebuilt us. It was the daily decision not to let the past dictate the terms of the present. He never tried to fix what he broke. Instead, he started showing up the way he never had. Honest, present, unarmed. Like the day I froze during a client presentation. My mind blanked out. Couldn't breathe. Couldn't speak. I saw it all flash again. Camden, the dismissal, the humiliation. He didn't step in. Didn't rescue. Just stood beside me, said, "Take your time. They'll wait." And they did. Afterward, he didn't ask what happened. Didn't probe. He just handed me water and said, "You stayed standing." That became our phrase. You stayed standing. It didn't mean strong. It meant still here. One morning I asked him, "Do you regret any of it?" He paused, then said, "I regret not knowing how to be with you without power." I nodded. "And now?" He looked at me calm. "Now I just want to stay close without holding anything." He didn't need me to respond. We learned not to chase closure, just clarity. Months passed. The business grew faster than we expected. We hired a team, opened a second office. Clients came from both coasts. Some of them, ironically, from companies that once ghosted my resume. There were still moments of doubt, still shadows. One night I woke from a dream where everything had fallen apart again. Sweat, heart racing. He stirred beside me, his voice barely audible. "It's okay. You're safe." He didn't ask what I dreamed. He didn't need to. Not every scar fades, but not every scar means you're still bleeding. The first time he introduced me as his partner to a room full of investors, he didn't hesitate. He said it plainly, clearly, and no one flinched. That night, we sat on the office balcony. The city was louder than usual. He looked out and said, "You remember the first night you stayed here?" "Yeah," I said. "I remember not trusting anything." He smiled. "That version of you would have never let me this close. That version of you would have never earned it." We didn't toast to the past. We didn't owe it anything. Instead, we built a morning routine. Coffee first, talk later. Whoever opened the office unlocked both desks. No hierarchy, just space, just choice. And when we disagreed, we didn't retreat. We reset. We weren't perfect. We weren't even always kind, but we were honest. And that was enough. One Sunday, he looked at me across the table and said, "You know what scared me most about you?" I shook my head. "You never needed what I offered. You only wanted me to be real. And that's the one thing I didn't know how to give." "You do now," I said. "I try." That night, we didn't say "I love you." We said, "Same time tomorrow?" Always. Because not every love story ends with a kiss under the stars. Some end with two people showing up again and again. No grand declarations, no final promises. Just one look across a room and the quiet truth between them. We stayed standing.